Hey, how you doing? Chris Rosselli here. Thanks a lot for coming by and watching this video. I'm going to talk about today the most common mistakes with rotator cuff exercises and the most effective ways to strengthen your rotator cuff. Okay, now if you've ever had a shoulder injury in the past or you're looking to prevent a future one, you're going to want to really pay close attention to what I go over in this video. Okay, now if you do fall into the category of someone that has had a shoulder injury, chances are pretty good that you've been through some type of physical therapy or some other type of exercise related process to help build strength into your shoulder. Now typically whenever you go through that process, you do a lot of exercises that are intended to strengthen your rotator cuff. Then oftentimes when you get done, you get a sheet of exercises that you need to do on a daily basis to help to maintain the strength to that area. And when it comes to the rotator cuff muscles, generally what those exercises are nothing more than your arm lock to the side, rotating out and rotating in with a band attached or possibly a weight in your hand. Okay, now there may be other people that may have gotten more comprehensive exercises than that, but it's not the norm. Okay, now, and if you have not ever had a shoulder injury, but you have been participating in exercise for a little while and you've been to, say, like a gym or somewhere where people exercise, you've probably seen some people doing that exact same exercise somewhere. Okay, they take a band, they tie it around something and they pull it out and then they pull it in, they do a couple sets of each and then they're done. Now the problem with that is that our shoulder has so much more opportunity for motion than what those practitioners are kind of giving it credit for, okay? And they're kind of assuming that if you strengthen the shoulder and the rotator cuff muscles right here, you're actually going to have strengthened them in other places as well. That's not always the case, okay? And oftentimes it's not the case at all, okay? So you really have to be more creative when it comes to doing your rotator cuff exercises. Now I'm going to go over some exercises that you can do to give you a broad spectrum of strength throughout your shoulder in those specific muscles. What I'm going to talk about first are just kind of the anatomy of the rotator cuff so you get an idea of what that really is, because a lot of people have no clue. Okay, the rotator cuff basically is a term given to the four muscles that attach onto the humerus kind of near the top that basically form like a cuff around the head of the humerus. And these muscles can rotate the shoulder in and out, and they can kind of pull it up, and they kind of steer the shoulder. They're like little tiny stabilizing muscles of the shoulder. Okay, and now they can perform internal and external rotation pretty well, which is why they were given their name rotator cuff. Okay, now you have two of those muscles that do external rotation. You have one of those muscles that does internal rotation, and then you have one that kind of doesn't do either one of those very well. It actually does this motion more so than any. And that one's called your supraspinatus, and if you've ever had a rotator cuff injury, chances are pretty good that that was the one that got injured, and that's a really common problem that's usually due to other muscles other than the actual rotator cuff muscles. Those were just the ones that were compensating for those other muscles, and that's why that one got injured. Okay, now if you want to find out more kind of about that, you can download my information guide on this website. I talk about muscles and muscle issues, what can cause them, how they can manifest, and what to do about it. Okay, you can get that free right here. So, but what I'm going to talk about is, just kind of what the issues are with the rotator cuff exercise. And I mentioned this one. Okay, I mentioned that most exercises that are given for the rotation in and out in this position. Okay, now the first issue is that they're not going through all the different motions that the shoulder can do. Okay, the second issue is that a lot of times people are given that exercise to do with a free weight in their hand, so like a dumbbell. Okay, so you picture that this is my dumbbell. Okay, and I'm rotating out and I'm rotating in. Okay, now there's a big issue here because dumbbells and other free weights, they only provide resistance up and down, okay, because they respond to gravity. Okay, if I were to drop this thing, it would go down. Okay, it's not going to go out to the side and it's not going to go any other direction. Okay, it's going to go straight down. So unless we have a motion that is making us move up and down, we're not going to have effective resistance from a free weight. Okay, so if you're doing this exercise with free weights, basically the take-home message is stop. Do it with a band, okay? Because a band provides resistance in any direction. You see how this thing can go this way, it can go this way, it can go this way, okay? It can provide resistance in any direction, so you don't have to rely on the up and down, okay? So if you're using the free weights, get rid of them, use the band. Okay, now I'm going to go over some exercises to do for the rotator cuff muscles, and what I want to preface this with is that, you know, how I mentioned that there was one that did internal rotation and two that did external rotation. In my opinion, that is a good ratio of exercise to do. You want to do about twice as many for external rotation as you do for internal rotation. Okay, and there's a couple reasons for this. Number one, most of us are in internal rotation all day long. Okay, we cross our arms, we're at the desk, we're doing this, you know, we're in a position of internal rotation of our shoulder most of the time. Very little of our time is spent in external rotation, okay? And this is why those muscles get really, really weak all the time. So what we want to do is we want to help to offset that by doing a lot more external rotation than we do internal rotation. Okay, and this is also going to help a lot with posture, and it just feels really good to do that because it gets us out of that real tense, taut position that we're in usually with our shoulder, and that's a really nice feeling. So what I typically do is I have people start with the thinnest band that they can find, and you can get one of these at Walmart or Sports Authority or any sporting goods store. And what you can do easily to set up the external rotation stuff is you can just grab this with one hand and then grab this with the other, and then just do external rotation this way. Okay, now if you feel more comfortable, you can hold on to the handle, but I usually like to just hold on to the band. Okay, now I'm doing the exercise that I said was the most common one that people get prescribed, and there's nothing wrong with continuing this one. Okay, you just want to add in the others. So then you would kind of shift this band a little bit, and now you could do external rotation here. Okay, then you could shift it a little bit more, and you could do external rotation here. Okay, and then you could shift it a little bit more, and you could do external rotation here. Okay, and now all of these different positions are going to use those muscles a little bit differently, and they're going to strengthen you in those specific positions. And you can even get even more creative. You can do the stuff across your body. You can do it behind your back. I'll show you here. You know, you can do it a lot of different ways, okay? But you basically want to visit each of those positions during the course of your rotator cuff exercise workout. Okay, now you don't have to do it all in one set. You know, you don't have to do like 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, 3 here. You can do a whole set here, a whole set here, a whole set here, and so on. So what's an optimal rep range? Well, you know, it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody based on the thickness of the band as well as the current conditioning of their shoulder. But if you fatigue at about 10 to 15 reps, you're probably doing it with the right thickness of a band, okay? If you can do 30 or 40 reps, you're probably not using a thick enough band, and you probably want to upgrade to something that has more resistance. Okay, now when it comes to the internal rotation component, we would typically need some sort of a base to pull off of. Okay, I have a chair here. I just wrap this around the arm of the chair. Okay, and what I can do is just slide the handles together like this and kind of make a little bit of a knot. And then basically what I'm going to do is do the same exact thing. Is I'm going to just pull into internal rotation in all the positions that I can get my shoulder into. And this thing's kind of flopping around. I'm going to grab that. So you want to basically do the same thing for internal rotation as you did for external rotation. Okay. Now I'm not a big fan of doing a whole lot of internal rotations. Okay, as I mentioned, it should probably be about a 2 to 1. But the other reason for that is not only because we spend so much time in internal rotation, but also because the bigger muscles like our pec, our lat, and even some of the other smaller shoulder muscles, they do internal rotation of the shoulder. and they are the ones that primarily get worked when we do that motion. Okay, so if you're doing a comprehensive exercise program, you're not going to really need to do a whole lot of internal rotation by itself. Okay, now it's still included in there, maybe 1 or 2 sets, you know, maybe a set here and a set here, you know, or something like that. But you're not going to need as many exercises for that as you do for external. I would really spend a lot more time in external rotation, and I would spend a lot more time visiting these different positions during that exercise, that part of your exercise program. Okay, and if you have any issues setting this up, by all means, you can email me, chris@nonfictionfitness.com. I'll be happy to give you some, you know, pointers and stuff, and help you out any way that I can in the implementation of this. And also, if you are having a persistent issue, like of the shoulder or any other part of your body, you're going to want to really explore the muscular component of your problem. Okay, now what I mean by that is that your muscles are the things that actually stabilize and support and hold your joints together. So if you're having any kind of joint issue, especially any kind of pain or any tightness or any weakness, especially stuff that comes out when you're moving, whether that's moving across, you're moving back, you're moving up overhead or whatever, there's very likely a muscular issue. Okay, now oftentimes exercise alone is not enough to correct that. Okay, because there's oftentimes these little communication problems between our brain, our spinal cord, and our muscles. Okay, and these are not things that we can really sense, other than that we might have some wacky sensations like tightness, like pain, and like weakness. Okay, so if you have any of that type of stuff in any part of your body, whether it's your shoulder, your back, your hips, your knees, your feet, your neck, whatever, please download my free information guide. Okay, it's going to give you a lot of really good information about what to do about that specific type issue. Okay, and you can get that right here on this website. Just put in your name and email into the blue box. You'll even see one on this page. It's on the right hand side, and go ahead and do that right away. You can download that for free within a couple of minutes after you submit your information, and you'll be one step closer to getting better. Okay, so as I mentioned, you can email me with any questions that you have, chris@nonfictionfitness.com, and be on the lookout for my next article in Totally Tennis Magazine, where I will talk about another set of important tennis muscles that you need to be focusing on in your exercise program to play better, to move better, and to feel better. Okay, so I'll see you next time.